She is wearing a dress without a corset, which was at that time revolutionary and perceived as quite scandalous. History has largely been written by men and about men. But within the halls of the Rijksmuseum, stories about female empowerment, perseverance and talent can also be found. Who are these women and what are their stories? My name is Maaike Rikhof and I'm the curator in training at the Department of 19th Century Paintings. Let me introduce you to some of these fierce and inspiring role models. Heavily packed with different types of weapons, this woman is obviously not to be messed with. This is a portrait of Kenau Simonsdochter Hasselaer. In the 80 Years' War against Spain, Kenau helped to defend the city of Haarlem heroically during the Spanish siege of 1573 by buying weapons for the Dutch. Some sources even claim that she guided an army of women, a story which was probably mythologized, although it's important to remember that she was an actual historical person of flesh and blood. Over the course of the following centuries, Kenau became a symbol of female power. In Dutch usage, a Kenau is a woman who is not afraid of anything or anybody, but unfairly it's often meant in a derogatory way. From military power onto financial independency. 3 authoritative women seated around a table, counting and administrating their money. Their names were Clara Abba, Elisabeth van Duinen and Agatha Munter, and they were the regents, the Board of Trustees, if you will, of the Lepus Asylum in Amsterdam. They were in charge of the day-to-day running of the hospital, from overseeing servants to purchasing goods. Their expensive clothing, made of silk, lace and gold embroidery, underscores their influence and high position in Dutch 17th century society. Now we are skipping a century to continue with a group of women demonstrating great athletic leadership. In the Frisian town of Leeuwarden in 1809, a large crowd watched 64 unmarried women compete in a women's-only skating competition. To be able to move more freely, many had thrown off their cloaks. The painter, Nicolaas Bauer, depicted the finalists in their undergarments and with bare arms. We can see a cast-off coat lying on the ice near the finish line. This caused an outcry in the press, and some men argued that it conflicted with so-called female virtue. The winner was Haukje Gerrits Bauma, and in 2013 the painting was donated to the museum by no other than her own great-granddaughter. From athletic competition, we now move on to the political battle for women's emancipation. This vibrant portrait depicts Marie-Jeannette de Lange. As the chair of the Association for the Improvement of Women's Clothing, she propagated hygienic and comfortable garments for greater freedom of movement. She is wearing a dress without a corset, which was at that time revolutionary and perceived as quite scandalous. The pointillist style, employed by the painter Jan Toorop, comprises many small, distinct dots in complementary colors. It is perfectly fitting for a dazzling portrait of a modern, determined woman at the dawn of a new century. Throughout history, there have also been many successful female artists, such as Judith Leister, Rachel Ruijs and Henriette Runner-Knip. Therese Schwarze was the most celebrated Dutch female painter of the late 19th century, enjoying great successes with her fashionable society portraits. Here we are looking at her niece, Lizzie Ansing, who also became a celebrated professional artist. The stark contrast between light and dark creates intimacy, while the color scheme in red and green exudes power. Lizzie's gaze is directed straight at us, as if she wants to say, "Here I am, and I am not going anywhere." Of course, this was only a glimpse of the array of stories about female leadership that the Rijksmuseum has to offer. Always remember that although many women have been confined to the margins and the footnotes of art and history books, they did play their part in history, and their stories are an inspiration for us and future generations.